The San Francisco 49ers had a terrible loss today to the Miami Dolphins, a team that we thought was, going to be a lot better preseason, that team being the 49ers. They lost 29-17 today against the Dolphins. And the question atop everybody's mind, I believe, is should they pay Brock Purdy, and should he be the franchise guy for them?
This is a conversation that's been going around. We've been wanting to make a video on it. Now we're doing it. And it's interesting because we haven't talked about it yet. We haven't really got in deep on this topic. So this is genuine. I don't know what your opinion is. Here's just what I want to lay out, kind of my overall view on it. I would, if I'm the 49ers, he is a good quarterback. I would want to keep him. I would want to keep him at a certain price. There's a certain level I can't go with Brock Purdy. If you look at the top paid quarterbacks in the NFL, excuse us because we're doing this show on the road, so I'm going to show you with my phone. Dak Prescott, and we're going by average. I know the average a year isn't everything, but that's what we're going to use. Prescott gets 60 a year.
That's working out great.
Yeah, I know. Really, really good. Burrow, 55. Jordan Love, 55. Trevor Lawrence, 55. The Trevor Lawrence contract, honestly, we'll come back to that. That kind of is what really breaks this and fucks the 49ers, like puts them in a bad situation, because Brock Purdy's going to be able to say, what has he done?
Right.
It's like, I've made it to 2 NFC championship games, made it to a Super Bowl. Then you've got Tua at 53, Goff at 53, Herbert 52. Let's go all the way down. Kyler Murray at 46, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen at 45 and 43. Obviously, they'll get restructured at some point. What I want to know is, what's the magic number for Brock Purdy? Because as we've seen this year, when he doesn't have all that talent around him, he is not the same quarterback. That's not to say he's not a serviceable quarterback, but that's the difference. If I'm going to pay you $55 million, you have to be able to elevate subpar guys. If you're making a $50 million contract, I can't give you Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams at left tackle. I can't put in a dominant defense. I cannot put all these pieces around you. As we mentioned, all those quarterbacks in the top there, especially the ones that their contracts have really kicked in, like Trevor's hasn't, Jordan's hasn't, but Burrow, Prescott, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, even to an extent. You've got to be able to elevate. Justin Herbert doesn't have any offensive weapons. If you give Brock Purdy a $50 million contract, you're not going to be able to have these all-star players around him. And he, to me, shows that he can't elevate, average players.
So my opinion on Brock Purdy is this. Number one, he is, like you said, a serviceable quarterback. He is a quarterback that we've seen can get you to playoff games. He can win you championships of some degree. But I don't think he's ever going to really go. I don't see him being a Super Bowl quarterback, a Super Bowl winning quarterback, that is. And the injuries this year have really plagued the team. I mean, Christian McCaffrey was hurt half the year, and then now he's hurt again.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's a preview of what the team's going to look like if you give him a big contract.
Right, but here's my point. If not him, then who is the first question. Second is Brock Purdy. We also got to think about the type of guy he is. Okay, I think Brock Purdy is grounded enough to know that he is not Patrick Mahomes. He is not Joe Burrow. He's not those type of guys who are going to make that type of money. I know Patrick Mahomes is under 50 right now, but we know he's going to get paid more, and there's no question.
Well, and he also takes, team-friendly deals because he wants to win championships.
Exactly.
That goes back to the Trevor Lawrence problem, though. That really throws a wrench in it. Even Jordan Love, to an extent. It's like they haven't done anything to earn their contract. So if you're just in a negotiation, then Brock Purdy's going to say, I have done so much more in one season than Trevor Lawrence has done.
I don't think he is, though. I don't think he's that type of guy. And I know I'm really playing to the emotions, and I'm taking business out of it.
His agent is going to be that type of guy.
Probably. But I also think that, here's what the 49ers have to do. They have to be firm and set the price and say, if you don't want it, then leave.
I agree. And I actually think, to your point, I think it would be wise of Brock Purdy to realize, hey, if I'm the quarterback of this...
I would say I'll take whatever you give.
Right. Because do I want to go make $55 million at some other team? Would another team give him $55 million? That's a point of contingency. I don't want to enter that. Just say he could get $55 million elsewhere. If you're Brock Purdy, you could go do that. Or you can make, $40 million with Kyle Shanahan, and think about all the extra money you're going to make being the 49ers quarterback. It's like when you're a quarterback and you're good, he's in commercials. You get sponsorship deals. The contract is not everything. I know being the last pick in the draft, but he has to kind of reconcile that with himself. So maybe you're right. Maybe he is that type of guy where he's like, I'm not trying to be the number one paid quarterback. I'm happy with a certain level. The question is, are the 49ers going to do what you said and actually set a price and say, we're not going above this? And if so, what's that price?
Well, I can tell you right now, the 49ers fan on Twitter, they don't want him paid. The 49ers fan on Twitter, they are screaming. Like one comment said, this was on an article I read, but they have input the Twitter references. I'd rather have Drake May than Brock Purdy, which you can argue that if you would rather have him or not. Who knows?
Again,
I don't think there's enough evidence on Drake May right now to make that clarification.
But Drake May was a top 3 pick.
Right.
Purdy was 7th. You're not going to get a top 3 pick.
Exactly. But you also don't know how Drake May is going to plan out in the NFL. So you don't know how good he's going to be.
Right.
He's decent right now.
He's got more physical wow than Brock Purdy. But
sure. But sometimes you don't need the flashy quarterbacks. You don't need that type of guy.
Shanahan's proven that.
Kyle Shanahan has proven that. He's done it with Garoppolo.
Yeah.
He's done it with Purdy now.
Yeah.
So I think Purdy just has to realize if he wants to stay on this team, he has to accept less money. He can't be paid in the top 7 category. And if you want to keep Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, if you want to keep all these guys. Now, I also think this is just me reading into things. If you saw, Brock Purdy bought his offensive line all brand new trucks.
Yeah. He didn't buy him that.
Well,
he makes $1 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that also, I wonder if he already knows that he's maybe getting I wonder if there's contract works behind the scenes that we don't know about that maybe he's getting.
I mean, they might be having negotiations. The interesting thing is they don't have to pay him after this year. They could let him play out next year. I would probably try to do that if I was the 49ers. What do you think the number is? Like, if you are negotiating for the San Francisco 49ers, because like I said, if you give him $55 million, you're dead. I really do think if you give Brock Purdy a $55 million contract, you will never make another Super Bowl with him under that contract. Maybe the first year or second year of the contract before it really kicks in. You can't do it because you're not going to be able to put a team around him. He's not good enough. He is good, but he's not good enough.
If you decide to pay Brock Purdy, you pay him no more than $40 million.
There's no way he'll take 40. I think the lowest you can go is 45, which is right at Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray. Like, Kyler Murray's at 46, Jalen Hurts is at 51. I wouldn't offer him more than 50. There's no way.
Do you know the cap on 49ers right now?
I'm not sure what their situation is. But the cap thing,
I know.
If they sign him over the contract, the real money, it's like Jalen Hurts. They sign him. The real money doesn't kick in until 2 years down.
It's kick the can down the road.
Exactly.
It
kind of you slowly inch it forward.
So this is me. You're asking my opinion.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't pay him more than 40.
Okay.
That's just my number.
You would let him walk for if he wanted more than 40. I don't think that's crazy.
Well, because I think that you could go and get maybe a rookie, or you could.
We've seen what Shanahan's been able to do.
Yeah. So I don't think the quarterback is the most important position on this team because you have Kyle Shanahan, who's a mastermind and can work with any quarterback behind center pretty much.
Yes. The interesting thing, too, is Sam Darnold was at the 49ers last year. He was the backup to Purdy. Obviously, Shanahan liked him. Kevin O'Connell liked him. We're going to talk about that in the next segment, talk about what should happen with Sam Darnold. If Sam Darnold was on the market, would the 49ers maybe make a move for him and be willing to undermine Purdy? But the thing is, Darnold, the way he's playing, he's going to probably be able to argue for a pretty high dollar contract as well.
And I know to some 49ers fans, we probably sound like we don't know what we're talking about, and odds are we don't. But I do think that Brock Purdy would be accepting to the fact of taking a little bit less to make the team better, because there is a chance for greatness here. There is a chance for a Super Bowl with everybody healthy. But then you also got the argument of Christian McCaffrey. How much longer is he playing?
I mean, he might be done.
Right. So then...
And a lot of guys on the team are like that. Like Trent Williams, they got a lot of guys starting to age out. They are at the point... I don't really want to use the word rebuild, but they're at that point. It's an old roster. That run is over.
Yeah.
Like the 2 Super Bowl runs, I know players changed in that time. They have to completely restart and retool. And this is the first decision that's going to decide where that goes.
Then the other argument is, well, do we just go ahead and let Brock walk?
Maybe. I think, in my opinion, if I was running it, because like I said, if you give him $55 million a year, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I think it's idiot. It's like what we said with Dak. Like, why? Why are you going to do that?
Could you recall in your mind any 2 or 3 throws that Brock Purdy has made that you're like, oh, wow?
I mean, the impressive plays I can recall at Brock Purdy is him using his athletic ability to escape, buy time, make a play. But it's, getting the ball to the playmakers, which is good. That's his job. But he's not going to be able to do that if you don't have the playmakers. I think you offer. I would go a little higher than you. I might be willing to go 45, but I agree. I think that's the max. And I'd say if you don't want to take that, then you can walk and we'll go get somebody else.
And this is the issue. Even you couldn't recall 2 or 3 plays with the arm.
Well, he doesn't have a big arm.
That's my point. So even the guys that are the runners in the NFL, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, Kyler Murray's got a cannon.
They all have arms and they all have accuracy and they all have those plays that we could recall and say, oh, wow, Lamar had him yesterday.
Yes.
Josh Allen had him today.
That's what I'm saying. And if I'm going to pay you $55 million, I need a couple of those every week.
Exactly.
That I completely agree.
So that's why I think the value of Purdy has to come down. And we can't just keep playing this, the next quarterback to get paid gets paid the most.
It's absurd.
We have to stop it. It could start with the 49ers, but the whole wrench in the whole system here is, are they entering into a rebuild? If they are they willing to pay Brock Purdy? Do you want to rebuild on Purdy? I would say no, but maybe Shanahan does. Maybe the GM does. I don't know. I wouldn't feel confident building or rebuilding on Purdy. I'm not confident in Purdy in the longevity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not either because we've seen the past couple of weeks he's looked not good. I mean, he hasn't looked great. And I know the argument is, like, as we said, oh, well, he doesn't have a lot of supporting players around. That's what it's going to be like when he gets a big contract. So I agree. They have to ask themselves that. I would be willing to do it for 40, probably, because like trying to go replace and get a quarterback, it's hard. People need quarterbacks. It's hard to find them. They hit, gold, so to speak, with that pick. If we could keep him for 40, that's great. But anything over that, we are just, shooting ourselves in the foot. We're not going to be able to overcome. Look at Dak. You asked, like, oh, what are the wild throws? You can think of some with Dak. Yeah. I mean, say what you will about Dak Prescott. At least when you think about some of the plays he makes, you're like, wow, that was a crazy play. I know Brock Purdy's done his fair share, but he just doesn't have that. He's a good field general who makes an athletic play from here, from time to time and runs the Shanahan offense efficiently. But there's probably other guys that can do that for less money.